Campbell, nice pass to Riley. What a play by Suggs. My gosh, fantastic. What a pass.
You know I'm ballin', usual like Kobe. Ooh, worry about a hater that don't know me. He say that he tough.
Davion Mitchell is 6 feet tall and 22 years old, and I have him as my number 1 overall prospect.
That's true.
I realize that I am probably the only person on the planet who would take Davion with the first pick in the draft, other than maybe Davion himself, but I really do think he should go 1, and we'll get into why. Davion Mitchell right now, not 2 years from now, or 2 years from 2 years from now,
He's 2 years away from being 2 years away.
is at an elite level in so many areas of his game. His quickness and first step is insane. It's right there with De'Aaron Fox, Ja Morant, or whoever you want to say. He blows by guys. One guy is just not going to stay in front of him. Davion has an explosive handle. When he does a move, it goes somewhere. He doesn't just go behind his back or through his legs just to do it. When he does it, he ends up in a completely different spot on the court. He's comfortable with his handle in any situation. After he uses his quickness to get by the first guy, he's able to probe and use his handle in traffic to create wide open shots. His handle allows him to utilize all the other strengths in his game because it gets him in situations that he actually wants. Grouping these two together as they go hand in hand a lot of times. Davion plays with fire and emotion. His teammates play off that. I love players who just never seem to get tired. Davion's not a guy who's going to go stand in the corner or walk the ball up the court. He's moving the whole game, he's flying around, and he never seems to get tired. Defensively, the combination of his quickness, his sturdy frame with his strength, feel for the game, and competitiveness make him a great defender. His offense is what makes him such an elite prospect in my opinion, but his defense is extremely good. People are going to worry about his size, but how many guys are going to be asked to guard Cade Cunningham, who is huge and a bucket, and feel good about it? I think people have moved on from the NBA Jam way of rating players for the most part, but Davion does so many things that don't show up in areas like that. Like, how about just not allowing yourself to be screened? Grouping these two together as well, as you see his feel for the game so much in his passing. He just knows where the weaknesses are in the defense at all times. In my opinion, the NBA today is just so much about getting that first domino to drop and then attacking where the defense is weak after that. He gets that first domino to drop all the time with his handle and his quickness, and then he's able to use his feel for passing to break defenses after that. He's comfortable with either hand in any situation. He's great in the pick and roll or finding open shooters when driving to the rim. Davion's finishing ability for being just 6 feet tall is ridiculous. Obviously, he has bounce. Some of these high school dunks are pretty insane. But finishing below the rim is what really matters for him. Like with his passing, he can use either hand to finish and is agile enough to contort his body in ridiculous ways to be able to finish. His touch around the rim is awesome, and his floaters are going to keep getting better. People have a lot of questions about his shooting, but I think it's legit. He shot 45% from 3 this year, and it looked pure. Sure, he got a lot of open ones because he played on the best team in the country, and him and Jared Butler were awesome together. But he took a ton of late in the shot clock threes and self-created threes as well. He gets to his pull-up and is able to create space for it so easy. I have confidence he's going to be a really good shooter soon. Putting it all together, I mean, guess what happens when you pair an elite feel for the game with elite quickness, a good handle, finishing ability, and shooting? That's a star. I think he can be the primary creator for a playoff team, very early in his career. That go-to primary creator of his type has proven to be the most valuable archetype in the NBA. You need that guy in the playoffs. He's going to be on that Jamal Murray, Donovan Mitchell, Devin Booker type level soon. I think he'll be a multiple-time All-Star in his prime, averaging something like 23 and 8 while playing winning basketball. James Bouknight is a 6'5" combo guard from UConn, where he played his last 2 seasons. He's 20 years old, and he's number 2 on my board. James Bouknight is going to lead the NBA in scoring someday. I'd put a lot of money on it. He's going to have 60-point games. He's as polished of an offensive player as it gets for being 20 years old. I think everyone now understands how good Devin Booker is, and I think Bouknight is really close to that same player. Their games are so similar. Every move on the offensive end, he has it, and he knows exactly when to use it. Every time he puts a shot up, you think it's going in. The two concerns people bring up when discussing Bouknight are his three-point shooting and his assist-to-turnover ratio, which, in my opinion, are both thrown out the window when you watch him play. His jumper's so pure, he's just going to be one of the best shooters in the NBA. I don't have any doubts about it. He only took 8 uncontested three-point shots this year, and he was playing through an elbow injury that he just had surgery on. While I don't think he has that elite feel for passing, I still think it's pretty good. It just wasn't his role at UConn to distribute. They had him come off screens to shoot and isolate to score. I love his ability as a rebounder. He uses his athleticism to go get rebounds. He's a terror in transition. He finishes everything through contact. He's going to be an elite free throw shooter. He plays in the flow of the game. It just seems like it's such winning basketball. Once his frame fills out, he's going to be a really good defender. He has the feel and the quickness now, and he has the want for it. He just needs the strength. When you put it all together, James Bouknight is an elite prospect. I'd be surprised if he isn't consistently averaging 25 a game in a couple years and isn't a multiple-time All-Star by the time his career is over. Bouknight is number 2 on my board.
Yeah, it's made of rabbit. Diamonds on my neck and wrist, they compliment that carrots. You ain't nothing but a mockingbird, boy, you a parrot. Oops, you're my bad, that's your girl, we can share it. Mike buy her diamonds and pearls, but can't marry.
I've got Cade at number 3. He's 6'8" with a 7-foot wingspan, pretty much the ideal body for an NBA player in today's game. That's Paul George, that's Chris Middleton, Tobias Harris, those type of guys. It's not that I don't like Cade. I don't think there's a chance he busts or a chance that he isn't averaging at least 20 in the NBA for a really long time. It's just that I don't see the generational talent that most people see. I see his scoring ability at his size, being 6'8" and having as good of a shot as he does. I mean, it's pretty lethal. I think he'll be one of the best shooters in the NBA. He didn't often get open looks at Oklahoma State, but when he did, they hardly hit the rim. I just don't really see the playmaking ability that everybody else does. He's a solid passer and has a good feel for the game. He just doesn't have a great handle. He doesn't change speeds really at all. He's not quick. I just think he lacks a lot of the abilities to get by guys consistently, which is why he's not in a position to make defenses pay with his passing that often. Most people say Cade played with terrible teammates and had no space in college, which, give or take. We've seen a few elite passers come into the league the past few years. I mean, name one player that Trae Young, John Morant, or LaMelo Ball played with in the year before they came into the NBA. It's not like they were playing with a bunch of space around them. Trae and Ja still led the NCAA in assists, and I'm pretty sure LaMelo would have too if he would have went to school. I think if you're at that elite level of a playmaker, that ability shines through no matter the talent around you, at the college level. In my opinion, Cade is probably as much of a forward as he is a guard, and he'd really benefit from playing with another good playmaker, which it doesn't sound like is going to happen in Detroit. It might be possible that playing with 4 potential lottery picks at a high school level would make a point guard look pretty good at passing. I don't know. But I see so much of Paul George and Jason Tatum in him, and whether he gets to that level or not is to be determined. But I think that's more of the type of player he is than a Luka or a ball-dominant playmaker. Defensively, it looks like Cade is going to be really solid, and he's going to be able to guard multiple positions. You can put Cade in any lineup and it makes sense, which is a super valuable thing to have. I think he's going to be an extremely good scorer. I just wonder what other areas of his game he can become elite at. Maybe his handle, maybe as a defender. We'll see what happens. Cade is 3rd on the board.
Yeah, the ones on a run from the bounty. Yeah, diamonds they so wet, need some bounce.
Jalen Green is a 19-year-old 6'5" guard who spent last season with the G League Ignite. He comes in at number 4 on my board. There's pretty much a consensus that there is a top 4 in this year's draft. I am of that same opinion as well, it's just I have a different top 4. Mine being Davion, Bouknight, Cade, and Jalen Green. All 4 of these guys can be primary ball handlers and primary shot creators. By far the most valuable type of player. The next handful of guys on my list are not that type of player. Jalen Green pops off the screen as much as anybody in this class. You've heard it before, but his athleticism is just on a different level than pretty much everybody else in the NBA. It seems like he's literally gliding up and down the court sometimes. He's also an extremely skilled player for a 19-year-old. The game just comes natural to him. I think his passing and playmaking ability is probably the most hidden skill of any prospect in this draft. I don't remember seeing a second of him playing this year without either Jared Jack, Bobby Brown, or Daishawn Nix on the court, and they're all like 6 foot pure point guards. So Jalen was exclusively used as a secondary creator. I think his feel and ability for passing are super good, and he can be a primary guy for a really good team. I don't think he's quite as NBA ready as the previous 3 guys on my list. He needs to bulk up quite a bit, and his jumper needs to become a lot more consistent. The jumper is probably the part of his game that gives me the most pause on him. It reminds me a lot of LaMelo's, where it's super high arcing and the misses are kind of all over the place. I think he'll probably be the worst shooter out of this top tier 4 guys, but that's quite a high bar. I think he'll become a pretty good NBA 3-point shooter in time. I think Jalen Green might have the highest upside in this class. His range of outcomes is a lot wider than the previous 3 guys at the top. But if we're making predictions, I think he'll be a fringe all-star for a lot of his career, making a few, and he'll be one of the more exciting and cool players to watch in the league.